All right, so as I mentioned earlier, Mari had to let it go a little bit on her summer camp. Climate police, spicy Mari rant. Gotta love them. And every once in a while, it just gets a little bit too much, guys. I during the day, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, I have a full-time job. And on the side, Mari pretty much helps me get up to speed, reading me papers, showing me videos, talking about this, talking about that. A lot going on. And it's been frustrating lately with the censoring. And then you read articles like Mari pointed out the other day in this video talking about this global warming summit, so to speak, where people that are going to be at this side, I don't even want to talk about it, I don't even want to mention it by name, I don't want to mention anyone's names involved with it. Every time we ever even come close to mentioning names about people that are involved on the other side of this, we usually get dinged. So there's an event going on where all these people who unfortunately are very rich and have a lot of money are having a powwow about how climate change is man-made. And Mari lets it go a little bit here in this summer camp rant, and I don't blame her. I know I was infuriated when she read me the article and some of the names that were on the list. And this goes back from me talking to people that I work with, or Mari, or you people out there, that we continue to see, I don't want to call it lazy, but it's easier for people to just trust certain celebrities and high-profile politicians and take their word for it, versus taking the time like you folks do on an almost daily basis. Because it's not just our channel you're watching. There's several other channels that are reporting on this and are doing a good job and are giving out good information. So you guys are watching all of us. That's a daily thing. That's a learning process. That's work. You guys are taking the time to actually look at the data. You're also looking at the links and the resources that we're using. So it's not like that we're making claims without proof. But yet, time after time after time, we see the AGW making claims, and they don't attach any kind of proof with their claims in the articles that we read on very trusted, popular news sites. That's frustrating. So I encourage everybody to give it a listen. And the video below it, Mari is starting a learning series. Look, this video is well presented. I've reviewed it twice before we published it. Mari does a great job at mentioning the introduction basics. There will be more of these coming out in the future. And when we went to put this one out, you wouldn't believe the numbers that were coming in. This video was buried. Nobody saw it. Nobody got a notification for it. And what usually would bring us in 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views on a video that's produced like this, we are well below that number. In fact, it took us almost 36 hours to break the 1,000 view mark, which again, that has a lot to do with a lot of you folks who are being either unsubscribed from the channel, or your notification bell changes to personalize instead of all, which a lot of folks are leaving comments on our videos telling us, hey, look, I had to subscribe to your channel, or I had to change my notifications to all again. One person said the only time they get notifications about our shows is when they unsubscribe from the channel. So I'm a firm believer of information being suppressed when the truth is dangerously 100%. And there is a reason why this information is being suppressed. We've talked about this over and over again. The elite, the powers that be, want to control the food. They want to control the economy. They want to be in control when it finally does go to crap. They have to have a firm control of this. They can't have thousands or millions of self-reliant people out there who don't need any help from the government, right? Because what sense does it make to even have one again if you find a way to make it work without one? Think about that for a minute. Think about all those bills that we pay right now, utility bills. All that electricity that money we're spending on for, even gas. The way we get taxed on carbon. The average pump is selling unleaded gas up here around $2.75. I bet if you take out the state taxes and all the federal taxes, you're probably only looking at really $1.30 in real price of gas. But because of these stupid policies and somehow these weird politicians who get elected and somehow enforce these numbers, these policies, it doesn't benefit any of us at all. So, all right, before I get way too off base here, let's continue with the show. Links for those videos are right there. I want you guys to check those out when you get the chance. What I'm getting ready to show you guys is the charts here from NOAA. Mario will leave the link in the description. The files are linked. Yep, okay, so you just hover over these charts and it'll take you to the NOAA website where these came from. I'm fair. I'm going to show you the numbers, truth, whether it looks good or not for us, whatever agenda some people think that we're on. But that's another story. Take a look at the parts per million of CO2. Okay? Seeing this, guys? We're at record levels, higher than we've ever seen them before the 1970s. That's undoubtable. With all the volcanoes and earthquakes, some of the wildfires have contributed, not much. But volcanoes, earthquakes, definitely. When the ocean's warm, CO2 is emitted. We get, think about that alone. When you talk about man's contribution, and the world is 72% water, think about how natural the contribution of CO2 is compared to man, and how much more is there. All right? Down below this chart that shows us record high CO2 part per million. Right now it's at 413. It did peak out at 415 last month, but as of late mid-July, we are getting values at 413. But hold the phones. Look at this. NOAA is reflecting what we are getting ready to show you. Check this out, guys. I want to show you where we are looking at right now is a drop in temperatures. All right, this is current. Look at where it peaked out. You guys can zoom this out later, but that peak represents 2016, 17, 18, and now 19. There is a distinct drop. But yet CO2 continues to rise. Let's go over here to Dr. Roy Spencer's website. And he reports that July has fallen to 0.38 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, wait, let's stop for a minute. June was an increase, a shock actually, because we were sitting around 0.34, I believe. No, 0.32 in May. June came in at 0.47. Almost a 0.15 degree increase. That's pretty, you know, that's hot. And it dropped back down to 0.38 in July. Now, mind you, folks, let's think about this for a minute now, okay? Not only can we see the drop, you guys can see the three peaks from where the arrow is pointing at the 0.38. Go back to your left, and you see in 2016 where we had the 0.88 degrees Celsius above baseline, all right? So, each year we see this temperature begin to decline with these little mini peaks that happen from time to time. That 0.63 is from late 2017, around September of 2017. The 0.47 was here in 2019. So, interesting enough, we had a peak in 16, we had another peak in late 17, and now we have another peak in mid-19, but they're all dropping. Each peak is lower than the one before it. Again, there is the correlation right there with what they're saying at UAH, all right? And what they're saying in NOAA. It's the same drop. Look. They're both staggered. All right? So, When you hear people talk about how man-made climate change and we put too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, when you hear somebody say something like that, folks, I want you to remember something. They don't understand how CO2 works, okay? So we have to restrain from calling them names or stupid because they don't know any better. If they did, they wouldn't tell you that CO2 is the reason why we're warming, okay? The raw data from NOAA and UAH, thanks to the work of Dr. Roy Spencer and others, this information lines up right by each other. Oh, let me add one more thing. How was that space weather in the month of July? Maybe 1 or 2 small sunspots that were appearing on our sun for a total of 4 days? Wasn't there a month that we didn't have any sunspot activity at all? Could that have been part of the reason why the cooling began in July? From June? June was 0.47. This is a 0.09 degree drop. In my opinion, that's pretty significant. Because it was over a 0.15 degree increase from May to June. And then a 0.09 degree drop from June to July. Not only was our solar activity quiet, this drop in global temperatures now, this is not just the US, this is global, okay? This was also during what NOAA and other fake news organizations were calling the hottest July on record. I'm here to tell you, folks, that it is 100% fake news. Look at the temperatures down here at the bottom of this chart for 2019 of July. Global temp is the 0.38. Then you move to your right, the 0.33. That's the northern hemisphere global mean. The southern hemisphere, 0.44. These are all above. None of these are dropping. But yeah, the temperature fell. Something ain't adding up, folks. And it's the carbon dioxide theory. The fact that we continue to hear about the higher carbon dioxide gets, the more temperature rise we see. Well, global temperatures for July were down 0.09 degrees Celsius. All right. What's August going to look like? I could talk about that too here later in our broadcast as well. And that will also correlate well with what I'm showing you here with CO2, the solar activity that we talk about, or the lack thereof, and the temperature drop that NOAA is also showing us as well. Now, those of you who have been in favor of this warming stuff, you'll see that right now we are still in the bulk of the warming. That is true. What's wrong? Oh.
We've declined.
It shows the decline, yes. My point is that we are on the descent. So if you guys think things are bad now, I mean, we haven't seen anything yet. That's my point. We are dropping from that peak, and dropping, in my opinion, a lot rapidly than we rose to that point. Poorly cited weather station leads to fake record in Germany. You don't say. During last week's record-setting European heat wave, Germany's previous record of 40.3 was impressively shattered by the measurement station located at the northwest city of Lingen. That's near the Dutch border, some 50 kilometers from where I live. This is Pierre Gosselin, guest writer here. So here we go. The photo here shows the station is located right near a DWD building, which is shielded from the wind by grown trees and is located not far from a public swimming pool. There's the weather station right there, folks. And this goes back to with what I was saying the other day when I was driving on the highway and I saw one of these weather stations on the side of the road in a similar location. Trees are removed. It's clearing area, you know, conveniently for that area. A good space. SPACEWEATHER meteorologist wrote an extra heat possibly could be heating the station up by another 3 degrees. The DWD accepts the overheated reading. Germany's DWD National Weather Service has even confirmed that the station sitting is no longer adequate and that a move to a new site has already been long planned. But despite the acknowledgement of the poor sitting, the DWD went ahead and confirmed the reading as valid. The 42.6 degree reading now stands as Germany's new all-time high record temperature, no matter how questionable the reading may be. Valid? All right, I'm just going to stop right there. I mean, come on. Another example. And I just don't understand how people can talk out of the side of their mouth and get away with it. They are confirming that this weather station is in a bad spot to be reading record-breaking temperatures for the heat. However, we're going to go ahead and accept it, even though we know that it's probably about 3 degrees off anyway, right? If it's 3 degrees off Celsius, I mean, that's 39.6. That's below the record, more than likely. So, next question is, the DWD must have a lot of money riding on the man-made global warming theory. Of course they do. Germany is one of the leaders in the renewable energy sector. We also reported on how it's failing at this current time. So, question to you out there, why is it that all of you folks out there who are talking about this record shattering temperatures from inadequate spots that shouldn't be recording temperatures? I mean, this guy here is talking about how he lives 50 kilometers east of Lingen. His thermometer showed 38.2 degrees. That's unofficial, of course, but it made the Lingen reading look suspicious. I mean, he's almost a full 4.5 degrees below what the record was, and he's only 50 kilometers away. Not impossible that the heat difference can be that much in that short of distance, but again, it's suspect because he knows how hot it was. I just said it was 3 degrees off and then find out that it was 38.2, so it could have been worse. So 3 is being generous. But my point is that, and you can get the full report on this, by the way, at No Trick Zone. My point is that you hear all these terror comments about, you know, planet's hottest month on record. But the real proof is right here. All right. You hear about all these record hot Julys, and then we're watching temperature dropping like a rock here over the last 3 to 4 years. And then we keep a close eye on it here month to month at royspencer.com, and that's dropping as well, continuing that trend of a drop. We got a little mini peak there. That's all right. That'll happen. A couple hiccups. The last 60 days, I'd like to do the research. I think we're somewhere around 54 days are spotless in the last 60. I'll look that up, make sure I'm being accurate on that, but I'm pretty sure it's close to that. It's not a coincidence that we had a cooler July based on the theory that low solar activity creates lower temperatures here on Earth. Common fantasy. Red states are dumping coal for solar. Oh boy. Arizona. I get it. One of the best areas in the world, probably. That in the Sahara Desert. Or any desert in Afghanistan, Iran, or Iraq. I'm sure those areas would be great for sunshine. Okay? Not doubting that. And neither is this article. Arizona net electricity generation by source as of April 2019. The majority of it is natural gas, coal, and nuclear. And then the non-hydraulic electrical renewables are solar and wind. That's quite a difference, guys. Look at that. And Arizona is one of the best spots in the United States to collect solar and wind. All right? Hydroelectric, non-hydroelectric. Hydroelectric being, well, you know what hydroelectric is. So the bottom blue graph is solar and wind. All right. Georgia. They also want to put a bunch of solar plants and solar panels down there in the south. Again, the solar and wind is a little bit better than the hydroelectric because you combine the two to the one. Nuclear would be a good second place. Natural gas, again, leading the way. Coal, not as much as people are saying. Look at this, guys. The coal and the natural gas and the nuclear are all about the same in Arizona, Georgia. A little bit different in Louisiana, but the natural gas is still about the same. The point I'm trying to show you guys is that we are not seeing an increase of coal and nuclear, but more natural gas. And natural gas, by the way, is the most cleanest natural resource out there. Places like Texas, look at that. Your solar and wind does a whole hell of a lot better. Okay, it works. We got you. Total energy real prices, gas price at Henry's Hub. Interesting chart y'all need to look at here. But the staggering number, check this out, $110.40 per megawatt hour. According to the US EIA Annual Energy Outlook, in the 2050, we will be getting 48% of 31% of electricity from solar. For the math impaired, that's 15%. While we'll be getting 17% of our electricity from coal-fired plants at the time. And like I mentioned Tuesday night about Dr. Circus, how they only heat their beds, not their houses. I wonder why. If they're relying on solar and wind and shutting down coal plants and shutting down natural gas. These are very, very scary times, folks, along with crop failure left and right. And when we talk about the weather here just a little bit, very concerning times coming in the immediate future. You know, 2019 and 2020 winter, 2020 and 2021 winter. That's what I'm saying too. Not only are we in for a ride in the next few seasons, but beyond that as well. And every time that I say it's going to only get worse, it's not because I'm trying to set fear or try to be the first right to predict, but I was told this a long, long time ago, and that person was right the whole time. And I have no reason to believe that they're not still telling the truth. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this unfortunate truth here on Climate Depot. Again, thank you guys over there. This is a former NOAA award-winning atmospheric scientist, Dr. Rex Fleming, joins many former UN, IPCC, and US governmental science publicly dissenting on man-made climate change. Fleming declares that CO2 has no impact on climate change. Past climates have been warm and cold with no changes in carbon dioxide. How can that be a cause when there's no correlation? And Fleming, AMS, AGU, AAAS, all three of those organizations will not support a denier. I could not get published in any of those organizations as a denier. I had to go to Europe to publish a paper. It was peer-reviewed in Europe, and it got through it, and has been very successful. That was a quote of one of his tweets. Climate Depot leaves a video here from YouTube, some more of his tweets. But I want to get to his qualifications. Dr. Rex Fleming is a mathematician with a PhD in atmospheric science from the University of Michigan. So that's a Big Ten school. That's very reputable. He has over 50 years of experience as a scientist and manager in weather and climate research. He has published peer-reviewed scientific papers from 1971 to 2018. He has represented the United States of America in several international science meetings, including the chief delegate at the first United States Ocean Climate Delegation to the People's Republic of China in 1982. He was awarded the Department of Commerce Gold Medal Award in 1980 for outstanding achievement in directing the U.S. role in the global weather experiment. Now, these are all prior to the global warming hysteria, folks. He was winning all of these awards on climate in 1980 and 1971. He was, you know, all these mentions of how great of a climate researcher he was in this period of time. And now all of a sudden, he has to travel to Europe to get a paper published that back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s would have had no trouble getting through. I mean, this is ridiculous. And we understand what he's talking about. Even in Europe, he's still getting attacked. When you do this, when you like Valentina Zarkova and Rex Fleming, when you go out and stick your neck, your reputation, your years of hard work, this is a decorated scientist here, very accomplished. You're not doing this for fame or money. There's nothing famous about being the guy that speaks out about this. There's nothing money lucrative about being the one who's transmitting this information or the scientists that are finding it. People are getting mocked, disregarded, just because it doesn't fit their agenda that these other folks have followed for the last 30 years. But their theory is falling apart fast. And again, we put the proof in your face. Down at the bottom of this article is not only his qualifications, his honors, relevant papers and publications. Look at this, folks. Links to get to these papers. Every single one, there is links to these papers. Okay? This is not just claims, baseless claims that we see from celebrities and former politicians. Okay? Real information, real proof. And like I said, why is it that people just listen to the celebrities and the former politicians? It's because it's a lot easier to take someone of, who's known well. It's a lot easier to take their word for it. Oh, maybe they've done the, maybe they've done the research. Why would I have to? If such and such blah blah blah, who's really popular with the world, says it's true, then why shouldn't we believe him? He's great in the movies, or he was a great president, or he was a great vice president. Oh, why shouldn't we believe him? Why shouldn't you believe us? Channels like us that produce the truth and put the proof right in front of you so you can go and check it out for yourself. You don't have to listen to me. You could skip listening to my broadcast for all I care. Just go to my website when we do our live shows. Check out the links we're doing. Check out how verifiable our information is. And then you ask yourself, why is this channel being censored on YouTube and other platforms? I know why, but Southern U.S. breaks cold records more than a century old. Check this out. We were talking about Minnesota, that they're 37 degrees on the border of Canada. Oklahoma, 58 degrees. Altus, Decatur, Alabama, 58 degrees. Salina, Kansas, 58 degrees. Let me tell you something, folks. 58 degrees is wow. For that part of Kansas and this time of the year. It's the middle of Hell's Kitchen in Kansas at this point. 58 degrees for a morning low. Albine, Texas. Or Albine, I'm sorry. 63 degrees. Little Rock, 64. Deep, deep south. Dirty, dirty south. AccuWeather is the link. Thank you, Robert Felix, for continuing to post these headlines that you don't see in mainstream media. Oh yeah, here's this coldest June 11 in central England, more than 141 years. June 11th, coldest day in central England, over 141 years. Provisionally, the 11th of June 2019 was the coldest day for that particular date. Series that started in 1878, that was 100 years before I was born. Provisional maximum of 11.7 degrees Celsius was over 6.6 degrees below that temperature. It was that cold. Wow. That means the temperature was only about 10.5 degrees Celsius, only the 9th lowest, but the daily mean series started much earlier in 1772. The reason why it ranked higher was that although the daytime maximum was only 11.7, the nighttime minimum was very close to average at 9.2. And thank you to Robert Felix. Check out his Ice Age Now, not by fire, but by ice. A very knowledgeable resource when it comes to information on cold climate. Argentina, heavy snowfall. Looks like we got 20 to 40 inches of snow expected until today, August 1st. Meteorological alert Tuesday, July 30th at dawn on Tuesday. The National Meteorological Service issued an alert for persistent snow that will affect the sector of Chubut. Until Thursday morning, that was today, accumulated expected is around 20 to 40 inches of snow. 48 hours. Let's see. Southern Hemisphere. Solar wind. Cosmic ray influx. 20 to 40 inches of snow in 48 hours. Yep, that makes sense to me. I know some of you folks in the AGW are, crying out pseudoscience, and it's because you don't understand it, really. A lot of you folks that are new to this, the only thing I can tell you, if you're not following what I'm saying right now, go to thegrandsolarminimum.com. Mari is lining up a series of educational links that gives us history about each grand minimum, I should say, learning series videos to watch. There's so much information, everything you would need to monitor the same conditions that we monitor here at the Grand Solar Minimum is right there on that website as well. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our weather news. Stick around.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.